What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, here today to do another recommendation video. I'm going to be recommending 10 Blu-rays that I think that you should own in your collection and watch around the Halloween season, the October season, and we are like halfway through the month right now, guys. And these movies that I'm about ready to go through, none of these have boutique releases. They don't have any of special editions. Well, actually, that's not true. One of them just had one release, but I'm gonna pretend that it didn't. So yeah, all of these don't have like Scream Factors or Arrows, Criterions, anything like that. I've been doing a lot of those kind of recommendation videos, just like studio recommendations, boutique label recommendations. I love narrowing it down and kind of spotlighting specific studios and boutique labels. But I thought today that I would highlight some Blu-rays that I own, some horror go-tos of mine that I love to watch just all the time. Like the 10 movies that I'm getting ready to recommend to you guys are just some of my all-time favorites. They're my go-tos at this point. I love these movies. And yeah, we're going to talk about them here today. But before I get into it, guys, I want to ask, if you are not yet a subscriber of the Mid-Level Media channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button for more great content. I do all kinds of stuff on this channel, mostly centered around the world of physical media. Recommendation videos like this. I do Blu-ray 4K hauls. I do Tuesday Blues Day videos where I go into stores and show you all the new releases, the physical media report reviews, all kinds of physical media content on this channel. If you like Blu-rays, if you like 4Ks, hell, if you like DVDs, hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. Also, be sure to like this video, guys. Every single like will help this channel out and help it grow, and I would greatly appreciate it. Also, be sure to comment down below of all the movies that we go through today, because some of these are pretty popular films. I'm sure that you've seen some of them. Comment down below which ones are your favorite, which ones are you going to purchase based on my recommendations. Let me know that in the comment section below. So let's get into it, guys, and let's get to the first movie. This one I watched for the first time a couple of years ago, and this movie got a sort of remake a couple of years ago as well, and I've gone on record as saying I do not like this movie at all. It is Midsummer, directed by Ari Aster. That's not the movie I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend to you The Wicker Man. This is the original Wicker Man, not the Nicolas Cage Wicker Man. This is The Wicker Man from 1973, directed by Robin Hardy, starring Christopher Lee. This is an excellent movie. This is a very creepy, spooky movie. This is an atmospheric movie. It is like, if you like Midsummer, then you're probably going back to this one. You're going to see a lot of the kind of things and the themes that Midsummer drew from. You're going to see in this film right here. But in my opinion, this movie does it so much better. It actually tells a story. It doesn't just throw a bunch of annoying characters at you and a bunch of weird shit and just hope that you accept it. And it has some really cool and interesting and engaging characters in it. Christopher Lee is fantastic in this movie as this kind of like cult leader. And yeah, I love this movie. When I watched this movie, I thought it was a masterpiece. It does not have any kind of special edition. In my opinion, when I go through these, I'm going to call out like, what boutique label should these get? Should these get a special edition from? The Wicker Man, absolutely. What it screams to me is Criterion. This is a prestigious horror film from the 70s. The Wicker Man needs a Criterion collection release, absolutely. So right now you can get this Blu-ray release on Amazon.com for $14.99. So not a bad deal for this release. This is a really cool cover right here for it. So I do like that, and you can see the back right there. But I absolutely recommend, if you're a horror fan, if you're a classic horror fan in particular, you should absolutely own The Wicker Man in your collection. It's a great spooky kind of movie to watch around the Halloween season. So I recommend The Wicker Man for sure. The next one I'm going to recommend, guys, is the one that did get a release from Second Sight recently. I need to get on there and order this thing, because this is my second favorite horror movie of the entire 21st century, and that is Paranormal Activity right here, guys. I love this movie. This is a really cool cover, by the way. I got it at Walmart, I think. So we'll go ahead and take that out of the slipcover and just show you all the regular case. But this is just one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It creeps me out. It scares me. I don't care what anybody says. I feel like the Paranormal franchise has like a bad stigma against it because it was so popular at the time, because it was so groundbreaking at the time. You know, a lot of people got tired of it. You know, they kind of felt like the found footage genre was really cheap and its scares and tactics to kind of freak you out and make you feel uneasy. And in a way it kind of is, but also these movies are just so effective. They tell such a good story. I will recommend this one, and along with that, the second one and the third one as well. I think they tell like a really great horror trilogy story. just connecting all the characters and moments, and just the way that they tell the story, kind of going back to the two girls, the sisters, just kind of going backwards. It's like they tell this story and then they go back in time for the other two. I think it's a really well done movie. This movie is creepy as hell. Demonic possession movies, guys, found footage films. There's some of the movies that freak me out the most, and this movie right here, guys, if I watch it, I'm not sleeping very well that night. And this is not the only found footage film that we're going to be talking about, because I just love the found footage genre so much. So yeah, Paranormal Activity does have that second sight release, but I would love it if Scream Factory would get a hold of this and do some kind of a special edition as well, and with some really cool cover art. This is cool cover art right here, but I think that Scream Factory could do a little bit better. So Paranormal Activity, guys, right now you can get, actually, I don't think you can get a standalone release, but what you can get is all 6 Paranormal Activity films for $12.98, because right now they're currently on sale. Now, when I put this video up, maybe the sale is not in effect anymore. I don't know. I'm going to put this up probably like 2 days from when I filmed this, but hopefully it's still in effect. I'll put that link down below. But $12.98 for 6 movies, that's absolute steal. I'm actually thinking about getting on there and taking advantage of that deal myself, because I only have this one and the second one in my collection. I definitely need the third one, because that's, like I said, those first 3 movies are just so great. But the next one I'm going to get into, guys, is one of my favorites as well. When I saw this movie in the theaters, it completely blew me away, because I had no idea it was what it actually was. I thought it was just going to be a generic cabin in the woods movie, and it turned out to be something completely batshit and different, just so unique, unlike anything I've ever seen before. Cabin in the Woods, guys, starring Chris Hemsworth before he was Thor. Actually, I think this one came out after Thor, but he filmed it before Thor, so he's kind of a side character in this movie. But yeah, it's got some really fun characters in it, some really fun moments. I don't want to spoil what happens in it, but it just goes in some completely crazy directions. Yeah, but like I said, it's got a really good cast. It's got Richard Jenkins in it, Bradley Whitford. They play some really hilarious characters. It borderlines on horror comedy. In fact, I would call it probably a horror comedy, but it's also really scary too in some parts. And it just goes some wacky directions in those last 30 minutes. And I think this is absolutely just one of the best horror movies of the past 10 years. Cabin in the Woods right now, guys, you can get for $8.99 on Blu-ray. And this also has a 4K for $15.29. I really need to upgrade this, but this was written and directed, I believe, by Drew Goddard, actually written by Josh Whedon, and Drew Goddard. And yeah, Drew Goddard is a guy that I'm closely watching his, just how he progresses as a filmmaker and writer, because he also wrote and directed Bad Times at the El Royale, which is not a horror film, but I love that film. I just can't wait to see some of the stuff that he does next. So Cabin in the Woods is one of my favorite of all time, just as far as like horror. So I absolutely recommend this. And I think that Scream Factory needs to do a special edition of Cabin in the Woods for sure. So this next one, guys, another one from the 2010s. I think a lot of these are from the 2010s, actually. There are a lot of more recent ones, because I feel like Criterion, Scream, Arrow, they really do a good job of like revitalizing those classics from the 70s, 80s, 90s even. They haven't given a ton of love to the 2000s, to the 2010s yet. So a lot of these like Blu-rays that don't have special editions are from the 2010s. So the next one I'm going to recommend, guys, is from director Adam Wingard. This is his first feature film that he directed. I'm pretty sure he did not write it. It was written by his partner Simon Barrett, but he did direct this movie. If you don't know Adam Wingard, he went on to direct another film I'm going to be recommending here in a second, but also more notably Godzilla vs. Kong earlier this year. He did that movie, but this is You're Next. And if you want to talk about a modern day slasher, and I would absolutely call this a slasher, it is a home invasion movie also of sorts, but I would say this is also a slasher. It really fits in both of those genres nicely, but this is a home invasion slasher that kind of flips that premise and that concept on its head and just turns the tables on the people that are actually invading these people. And one thing I'll say, guys, the direction in this is top-notch. The gore and the blood and just the effects are fantastic in this movie. There's a scene where a girl runs out of the house in a wire that is like stuck in my brain forever. I love that scene. But another thing, guys, Sharni Vinson right here, this chick on the back, so badass. This is probably one of my top 10 female characters of all time, and she's only been in this movie. She is so freaking good in this movie. Sharni Vinson didn't really do much after this. I wish she would have done more. I don't know if it's just she didn't want to act or she didn't get the roles based off of this, but she's a complete badass in this movie, like rivaling Uma Thurman from Kill Bill. I think she's so good in this movie. I think this movie is great. It's fantastic. It's like a little bit of a mystery as well. It's just so good, and I wasn't expecting this movie to be that good when I first saw it. You're Next, fantastic, guys. You can get this for $9.99 on Blu-ray on Amazon.com, and I absolutely recommend you have that in your collection. So, and that needs a Scream Factory release, no doubt. So the next one up, guys, this is going to be a little bit of a controversial opinion. This is my favorite movie of the franchise that it is in. If you even want to count it as being in that universe, in that franchise, because it is a very different movie that feels like it's in a completely different universe, and that is Evil Dead, 2013's Evil Dead, directed by Fede Alvarez. Easily in like my top 5 horror films of the 2010s, maybe of the entire 21st century. It is so good. It is so bloody and gory. Like the ending of this movie is just, it's just so awesome. It's like literally raining blood, chainsaws. But before that, before it gets to that really like wild gore and blood and all that stuff, it's a really effective, really moody, atmospheric, creepy as hell horror film. I love this film. I think that Jan Levy is absolutely fantastic in the lead role. I just think that this film has such a great atmosphere. It tells the same kind of story as the first Evil Dead with Bruce Campbell, The Evil Dead. But the way that it tells it is just completely different in tone. It's not really comedic at all. It's just very moody. And, you know, she's an addict. She's addicted to drugs. Her friends are kind of isolating her in this cabin. So it has that element as well as like an addict trying to recover. So there is a little bit of drama in this. So it's not slapstick. It's not goofy at all. It's not like those older Evil Dead films. It takes the subject matter way more seriously, at least for the first like hour and 15 minutes. The last 15 to 20 minutes, it really goes for it. It's really awesome. It's really kind of what I would say action-packed for a horror film. And this is just one of the best of all time, guys. What can I say? Evil Dead 2013 is my favorite Evil Dead film. I will take that to my grave. Right now, guys, you can get this movie for $9.99 on Blu-ray on Amazon.com. Absolutely recommend it. And that needs a Scream Factory release like immediately. Get it done. Get it done, Shout Factory. So the next one up, guys, I'm surprised this doesn't have a special edition either. This is one that a lot of people love. I will hold this movie up as being like, I wasn't the horror fan that I was when I was a kid, probably in the late 2000s, early 2000s, because in my opinion, in the 2000s, horror kind of died a little bit for me. I was not a big fan of the torture genre, the Sauls, the Hostels, all that stuff. It was all remakes. Nothing original was coming out. This one, along with a couple others like The Conjuring, The Babadook, really revitalized this genre for me and just kind of set the tone and the pace for the rest of the 2010s into this kind of like moody atmospheric horror, kind of like art house horror that would carry us into the 2020s. And this movie is called It Follows. This is directed by David Robert Mitchell, who also did another movie. It's kind of like a noir thriller called Under the Silver Lake, which is not horror at all. But this movie is super scary, guys. It's super atmospheric. Like I said, it kind of set the tone for the rest of the 2010s in horror. Is kind of like this new like art house horror style that A24 would take and like completely just run with it for the rest of the decade. But this is not an A24 film. I think this is, trying to think of who did this movie. This is a Dimension film, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, awesome. Maca Monroe is so great in this movie. It's got a great cast, got some great characters in it. And it's just one of the scariest horror films in like the past 10 years. Just so many great moments in this movie. The big tall guy walking through the door is completely horrifying. And yeah, I love It Follows. It's got a great score. It's got like one of the greatest horror scores of the past 10 years with Disaster Piece. I love this movie. It's one of the best. You need to have this movie in your collection. And right now, guys, you can get it for $11.89 on Blu-ray on Amazon.com. So definitely recommend It Follows. And the next one up, guys, again, I'm not going to say it's my favorite of this franchise. I think the first one is probably still my favorite. But I do love this reboot/sequel, and I think that it's severely underrated and underappreciated, and that is The Blair Witch. Or not The Blair Witch, but Blair Witch from 2016, also directed by Adam Wingard. I think he does a fantastic job with this movie in the found footage genre. I think this movie is scary as hell. I love the characters in this movie. I love the directions that it goes in. That scene at the end in the tunnel is so claustrophobic and creepy. I remember just cringing hard when I watched it in theaters and just feeling so claustrophobic and suffocated in that scene. And yeah, I just think it's a really solid sequel. I think it takes the mythology that was established in the first Blair Witch Project and really just expands upon it and does some really cool things with the lore and just the overall story to this universe. So yeah, I really enjoy this movie. I think it's a severely underrated sequel. I think it has like a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. It does not deserve that at all, guys. I love the Blair Witch sequel right here. It's definitely the best of the Blair Witch sequels, in my opinion. I know there's some Book of Shadows defenders out there, but I am not one of them. I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen the movie in like 15 years, but I saw it a couple times when I was a kid. I did not like that movie, so this to me is the Blair Witch sequel that we were all waiting for, and it absolutely delivered. I love this film. You can get this Blu-ray right now on Amazon.com for $9.99, and this is another one, guys. Scream Factory, get on it, guys. Do this one and do it right, because I love the Blair Witch. It needs a release. This is one, though, in all seriousness, like the other ones maybe aren't going to get Scream Factory releases. This is one that I'm absolutely like really shocked that they haven't done some kind of special edition for, especially since they've done a lot of this film's other like contemporaries of this era, and that is The Faculty. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's my second favorite Robert Rodriguez movie, other than From Dusk Till Dawn. I love this movie. It kind of feels like Scream a little bit. It came out in that post-Scream era where everything was trying to be like Scream, but it's also its own thing because it's like a horror movie, but it's also sci-fi. It's really just like the invasion of the body snatchers, and some really cool characters in this. Josh Hartnett is just like the coolest guy in this movie. Elijah Wood just plays the perfect like dork character. It's got Jordana Brewster in this film. Tons of great characters in this movie. You got the T-1000 Robert Patrick in this film, and I love this movie. This is iconic. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's probably like in my top 50 movies of all time, and that is The Faculty right now, guys. You can get this for $9.99 on Blu-ray on Amazon.com. You absolutely need this in your collection, so pick it up, guys. What are you waiting for? This next one that I'm going to recommend, guys, I don't know of any like boutique label that would put this one out as of right now, but maybe Arrow Video could tackle this one at some point, this one and the first one, but I'm not going to recommend the first one. This is a very popular horror franchise. That is The Conjuring 2. So this is my favorite film of the Conjuring universe. I know a lot of people love that first one. I do too. It's very hard for me to put this one above it because I just love them both so much. But in my opinion, I just think that The Conjuring 2 is a lot scarier than the first one. I've just decided that it's just got so many great moments in it. That scene where the girl's sitting there and the Bill guy's sitting behind her and she's kind of channeling his voice and stuff. It's got so many creepy scenes. The introduction, whatever they did with her after this movie that sucked with the Nun movie, but the Nun in this movie is super creepy and super effective. The scene with Vera Farmiga and in her house and kind of the painting with the nun in it and moving around the room, it's one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life. So I absolutely love The Conjuring. I love the first one as well, but I think I put this one just a little bit above it because it honestly scares me a little bit more. So The Conjuring 2 right now, guys, you can get on Amazon.com for $9.99. So great deal for this release right here, guys. So yeah, The Conjuring 2, that's all I need from that universe. I don't need anything else. So let's get into my last recommendation, guys. This is one I just picked up from Hamilton Books. This is one of my favorite found footage films. It is also an anthology film. It needs a Scream Factory release. It really does. I think that this one and the second one would make an awesome like double pack Scream Factory release. And what I'm going to recommend right now, guys, is VHS. So absolutely love this movie. I've talked about it before because I just did my Hamilton book haul, but this is just one of my favorite horror movies of the 2010s, one of my favorite anthology movies, one of my favorite found footage movies. So many different things in one. It's so cool. All of the stories in this movie that I love. It's given birth to like some of the greatest horror filmmakers of the past 10 years as well. So many great directors got their start right here in this movie in 2012. You got Adam Wingard that started with this film. You got Ty West. You got Radio Silence, who directed Ready or Not, who's getting ready to direct Scream 5 as well. You got David Bruckner, who just directed The Night House and is supposedly supposed to be doing the Hellraiser reboot. So just a terrific line of directors directing all of these anthology stories. And yeah, the first one just really sticks out with that girl that they take back to the hotel room. It's just one of the creepiest scenes ever in any horror movie. But yeah, so many great moments in this movie. That the haunted house at the end, the last sequence is really cool as well. But I love VHS. I think it's one of the best horror movies, one of the best anthology movies, one of the best found footage movies. Right now, guys, you can get this on Amazon.com for $10.89 on Blu-ray. So there you have it, guys. Those are my 10 Blu-rays that I'm going to recommend for this October horror spooky Halloween season. I absolutely recommend that you buy all of these. If you don't own them, they're great. If you're a horror fan, put them in your collection, and hopefully we see some boutique releases coming out for these in the coming years, because I think that all of them absolutely deserve it. So with that, guys, we are done with this video. I appreciate everybody watching. Please be sure to like this video. Also comment down below if you have anything to say about any of these movies. Which ones are your favorite? Which ones would you recommend that I pick up? You can leave that in the comment section below. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Turn on those bell notifications for all of those future videos, and we'll see you next time.